Sometimes you're going to have to tie knots really, really fast, and two knots that you're going to need very, very often in fishing are how to tie two lines together and how to tie a line to the hook. This is the Tom Rowland Podcast brought to you by Starbright, and this is How To Tuesday brought to you by Danco. One of the things that you might not know about me is that I also was a guide in freshwater and even competed in tournaments like that one. And when you're fly fishing in freshwater, a lot of times what I was doing is I was rowing a boat down a river. I've got two people, one in the front, one behind me. I had to be able to tie tippet onto the leader and then a fly onto that tippet very quickly, usually with the oars underneath my knees, usually with the boat spinning in circles, and usually with rocks that I'm about to hit or whitewater that I'm about to go into. The line-to-line knot is the blood knot, and the line-to-hook knot or fly knot is the clinch knot. I could tie these two knots. They might not be the strongest knots, but they were the fastest knots that I could tie. Now, if you're a fan of the Tom Rowland Podcast, How To Tuesdays, you may have our knot guide. The knot guide goes over all the knots that we've tied on the Tom Rowland Podcast and ranks them in order of percentage. And it might surprise you to see that the clinch knot is the one that I tie because that is not the strongest knot, but it is the fastest knot that I can tie. There's lots of knots to tie, and you may have your favorites. What you have to be able to do is you have to be able to practice a couple of knots so that you can literally tie them in the dark. You can literally tie them with your hands frozen or wet. So I wanted to see how fast I could tie these knots actually on the clock. So I tied the clinch knot, tied it in 9.31 seconds. I can tie a blood knot in 19.64 seconds. These aren't world record times by any stretch of the imagination, and there are plenty of people that can tie knots faster than me, but these are knots that I can tie really fast, under 30 seconds. That's your goal. If you want to learn how to tie the clinch knot, the improved clinch knot, or the blood knot, the link is in the description.